Your soulmate is trying to contact you. Open this before he gives up. Don't scroll, listen to this. This message is for you, and your heart needs this right now, because if you are seeing these words, it is not random, it is not coincidence, it is alignment, and the universe is speaking directly to you in this moment, asking you to pause, to breathe, to feel what's been stirring in your chest lately, because someone connected to your soul has been trying to reach you in ways you may not fully recognize yet. And listen closely, because this isn't just about missed messages or unanswered calls. This is about energy, timing, and a bond that never fully disconnected. And don't scroll, listen to this, because lately you may have felt sudden thoughts of them drop into your mind out of nowhere, memories resurfacing without effort, dreams that felt too real, too vivid, your heart tightening for no clear reason. And your heart needs this right now, because those moments weren't nostalgia, they were signals. And listen carefully, because soulmates don't simply disappear from each other's awareness. They go quiet, they hesitate, they pull back out of fear, but the connection remains active beneath the surface. And don't scroll, listen to this, because right now, your soulmate is standing at the edge of action and doubt, replaying words they never said, wondering if it's too late, wondering if you've moved on, wondering if reaching out will reopen wounds they're not sure they can face. And your heart needs this right now, because their hesitation is not indifference, it's fear mixed with longing. And listen closely, because fear often looks like silence, and silence often hides the deepest emotions. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe has been sending you signs to prepare you for this moment. Angel numbers appearing when you least expect them. 11. 11 showing up when you think of connection and timing, reminding you that alignment is possible when both souls are awake. 222 appearing when you feel unsure whether to stay open or shut the door completely, asking you to find balance between protecting your heart and allowing truth to enter. And your heart needs this right now, because staying open does not mean chasing, it means being receptive without abandoning yourself. And listen carefully, because 444 may have appeared when communication felt blocked, when something always seemed to interrupt or delay. And don't scroll, listen to this, because that was protection, giving both of you time to grow into the version of yourselves that could handle the truth without running from it. And your heart needs this right now, because timing is sacred in soulmate connections. And listen closely, because you didn't imagine the intensity of this bond, you didn't exaggerate it, you didn't create it alone, it was mutual, even if unevenly expressed. And don't scroll, listen to this, because your soulmate has been feeling a growing urgency lately, a sense that if they don't act soon, the window may close, not because you are unreachable, but because they fear you are done. And your heart needs this right now, because closure and completion feel similar from the outside. And listen carefully, because the universe does not rush soulmate connections, but it does nudge them when lessons are complete. And don't scroll, listen to this, because right now is a nudge, not a guarantee, not a promise, but an opportunity for honesty to meet openness. And your heart needs this right now, because you are being asked to check in with yourself, not to decide anything immediately, but to notice how your body responds when you think of them, whether it tightens in fear or softens in recognition. And listen closely, because your body knows truth before your mind catches up. And don't scroll, listen to this, because spiritual awakening changes how we love. It strips away fantasy and asks for authenticity. And your heart needs this right now, because if this connection is meant to continue, it can only do so on truth, not avoidance. And listen carefully, because your soulmate knows this too, and that's why they're hesitating, because reaching out means being vulnerable, accountable, and real in ways they may not have been before. And don't scroll, listen to this. Because growth often arrives right after discomfort, and your heart needs this right now, because whether this leads to reconnection or release, clarity is coming. And listen closely, because 777 may appear during this phase, signaling that a soul contract is active, that something important is unfolding behind the scenes even if you can't see it yet. And don't scroll, listen to this, because soul contracts don't always mean forever, but they always mean purpose. And your heart needs this right now, because the purpose here is honesty, courage, and self-respect. And listen carefully, because you are not being asked to wait, to chase, or to fix anything. You are being asked to stay aware, to stay grounded, to stay open without abandoning your boundaries. And don't scroll, listen to this, because love that is meant for you will meet you where you stand, not where you used to be. And your heart needs this right now, because if your soulmate reaches out, it will not be subtle. It will feel intentional, sincere, and different from before. And listen closely, because if they don't, it will not mean you were wrong to believe. It will mean the lesson has completed, and either outcome serves your growth. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe does not bring awareness without purpose. And your heart needs this right now, because you are standing at a turning point, and what you do next doesn't require action, it requires presence. And listen carefully, because presence allows truth to reveal itself naturally, without force, without fear. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the cliffhanger here is not about what he will do, it's about what you will allow, whether you allow fear to close you or wisdom to guide you. And your heart needs this right now, because wisdom does not rush, it listens, it observes, it trusts timing. And listen closely, because whatever happens next will bring clarity, and clarity will bring peace. And that peace will confirm that you were never forgotten, never overlooked, and never disconnected from what was meant to teach you how deeply you can love and how strongly you can stand in your truth. Don't scroll, listen to this, this message is for you. And your heart needs this right now, because if you've made it here, it means the first wave of recognition already hit you, and now the universe is asking you to stay present while the energy moves. And listen closely, because this is the part where silence starts to speak louder than words. And don't scroll, listen to this, because your soulmate's hesitation is not fading, it's intensifying. And your heart needs this right now, because when a soul feels the door slowly closing, urgency replaces comfort, and comfort is what kept them quiet before. And listen carefully, because right now they are weighing fear against truth, replaying moments they dismissed too quickly, realizing that what they felt with you didn't follow logic, it followed alignment. And don't scroll, listen to this, because alignment doesn't expire, but windows of courage do. And your heart needs this right now, because the universe is compressing time to bring clarity, not chaos. And listen closely, because you may have noticed your emotions coming in waves lately, moments of calm followed by sudden longing, not attachment, but awareness. And don't scroll, listen to this, because awareness feels different than desire, it's quieter, steadier, and more honest. And your heart needs this right now, because honesty is the only thing that can move this connection forward or release it cleanly. And listen carefully, because the signs have been increasing for a reason. 11 appearing when you pause and question timing, reminding you that alignment happens when both souls are awake at the same moment, not when one is chasing and the other is hiding. And don't scroll, listen to this, because 222 may be showing up when your mind debates whether to guard your heart or stay open, asking you to choose balance instead of extremes. And your heart needs this right now because balance means openness with boundaries, not walls, and listen closely, because 333 may be appearing when you feel supported in moments you expected to feel lonely, reminding you that unseen forces are stabilizing this transition so you don't spiral back into old patterns, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because stability is what prepares you for truth, not distraction, and your heart needs this right now because 444 may be appearing when communication feels blocked or delayed, not to frustrate you, but to protect you from half-truths and impulsive reactions, and listen carefully. Because protection doesn't always feel gentle, but it is intentional, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because your soulmate is feeling that same protection on their side too. Pressure building, moments of doubt followed by clarity, fear followed by resolve, and your heart needs this right now because when both souls feel pressure at the same time, something is about to shift, and listen closely, because 555 may be appearing when restlessness hits, when you feel like something is about to change even if you can't see how, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because 555 is transformation in motion, and transformation rarely announces itself politely. It stirs, it unsettles, it asks for courage, and your heart needs this right now because courage is required from both sides now, not just one. And listen carefully, because 666 may appear when fear tries to rewrite the story, telling you to assume the worst, to expect disappointment, to close off completely to avoid pain, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because 666 is recalibration, pulling you back to grounded truth, reminding you that fear is loud when it senses a turning point, and your heart needs this right now because reacting from fear can close doors that clarity would open. And listen closely, because 777 may be appearing when you feel a deep inner knowing, a sense that something important is unfolding even if it hasn't arrived yet. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because 777 signals an active soul contract, a moment where lessons are concluding and outcomes are being chosen, and your heart needs this right now because soul contracts don't linger forever. They move when growth is complete. And listen carefully, because your soulmate feels this too, the sense that waiting any longer may mean losing the chance to speak honestly. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because honesty is what they avoided before, not you. And your heart needs this right now because avoiding honesty feels safer than risking rejection, until silence becomes heavier than truth. And listen closely, because that's where they are now, weighing whether to reach out with sincerity or retreat permanently to protect their ego. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because the universe is not asking you to act, it's asking you to receive, to stay emotionally available without chasing, to remain grounded without closing off. And your heart needs this right now because reception is powerful, it signals readiness without desperation. And listen carefully, because 888 may appear when you imagine a scenario where communication is clear, respectful, and mutual, reminding you that reciprocity is possible only when both souls show up honestly. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because reciprocity is the standard now, not hope, not fantasy, not potential, and your heart needs this right now because your growth raised the bar. And listen closely, because 999 may appear when you feel emotionally prepared for either outcome, not numb, but complete. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because 999 is closure energy that does not require answers to move forward, and your heart needs this right now because readiness for any outcome is power. And listen carefully, because the truth is this. If your soulmate reaches out now, it will feel different than before, slower, clearer, more intentional, not impulsive or confusing, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because difference is how you'll recognize growth, and your heart needs this right now because growth is the only thing that makes reconnection sustainable. And listen closely, because if they don't reach out, it won't mean the connection wasn't real. It will mean the lesson completed without reunion. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because not all soulmates are meant to stay. Some are meant to awaken you to your worth and capacity for love, and your heart needs this right now because awakening is not loss, it's expansion. And listen carefully, because expansion creates space, and space allows what is aligned to enter naturally, without force, without fear. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because the universe is watching how you hold this moment, not with anxiety, but with trust. And your heart needs this right now. Because trust is the final test. And listen closely, because whether this ends in contact or closure, the outcome will bring peace, not confusion, if you stay aligned. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because peace is how you'll know the universe guided this correctly. And your heart needs this right now because love guided by peace lasts longer than love driven by urgency. And listen carefully, because the cliffhanger here is not about whether he gives up, it's about whether truth arrives before fear wins. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because the universe is giving one final opening for honesty to step forward. And your heart needs this right now because you are ready to receive truth, not chase it. And whatever happens next will not diminish you. It will confirm how far you've come, and when clarity arrives, it will feel less like surprise and more like recognition, calm, steady, and undeniably real. Don't scroll. Listen to this. This message is for you, and your heart needs this right now because this is the moment where the universe leans in closer and asks you to stay still long enough to feel what's really happening beneath the noise. And listen closely because what's unfolding now isn't about chasing contact, it's about recognizing the shift that's already in motion. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because your soulmate's attempt to reach you isn't only external, it's energetic, and energy always moves before action does. And your heart needs this right now because you may have noticed subtle changes in yourself lately. Less attachment to outcomes, more awareness of your own worth, a strange calm mixed with anticipation. And listen carefully, because that calm is not indifference, it's readiness. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because readiness is what invites truth without force. And your heart needs this right now because the universe does not rush soul connections, it prepares them. And listen closely, because preparation often feels like waiting, but it's actually alignment. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because your soulmate is feeling that alignment too, even if they can't fully name it. Moments of clarity followed by hesitation, courage rising, and then retreating. And your heart needs this right now because hesitation does not mean lack of feeling, it means fear is being confronted. And listen carefully, because fear shows up strongest right before a breakthrough. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because silence at this stage is not absence, it's tension, the kind that precedes truth. And your heart needs this right now because tension is uncomfortable but meaningful. And listen closely, because you may feel pulled to check your phone more often, to reread old messages, to wonder if today is the day. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because those impulses are not signs you should act, they are signs energy is shifting. And your heart needs this right now because acting prematurely can interrupt clarity. And listen carefully, because the universe is asking you to receive, not initiate, to observe, not chase, to stay open without leaning forward emotionally. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because that balance is what keeps your power intact. and your heart needs this right now because power rooted in calm attracts honesty, not confusion, and listen closely, because you may notice your dreams becoming more vivid, more symbolic, conversations replaying in your mind with new understanding, and don't scroll, listen to this, because dreams and memories surface when the subconscious is processing truth. And your heart needs this right now because processing precedes release or reunion, and listen carefully, because your soulmate is at a crossroads internally, not because they don't know how they feel, but because they finally do, and don't scroll, listen to this, because clarity can be heavier than confusion when it demands action, and your heart needs this right now because action requires vulnerability, accountability, and the willingness to be seen fully, and listen closely, because reaching out now would mean they can no longer hide behind timing, distance, or uncertainty, and don't scroll, listen to this, because hiding feels safer until the cost of silence outweighs the risk of honesty, and your heart needs this right now because that cost is rising, and listen carefully, because the universe is compressing lessons, bringing everything to the surface at once so no one can pretend they didn't know, and don't scroll, listen to this, because compression feels intense but purposeful, and your heart needs this right now because purpose removes confusion, and listen closely, because you may sense a shift in how you feel about the outcome itself, less desperation, more acceptance, and don't scroll, listen to this, because acceptance is not giving up, it's grounding, and your heart needs this right now because grounded energy is magnetic, and listen carefully, because magnetism doesn't pull through effort, it attracts through presence, and don't scroll, listen to this, because your presence right now, calm, aware, self-respecting, is what makes this moment possible, and your heart needs this right now because without your growth, this crossroads wouldn't exist, and listen closely, because your soulmate knows you are different now, even if you haven't spoken, they feel it in the distance, in the way the old dynamic no longer fits, and don't scroll, listen to this, because that awareness is what's forcing them to decide whether they can meet you where you are, not where you were. And your heart needs this right now because love that is meant to continue must evolve, not repeat, and listen carefully, because repeating patterns feel familiar but empty once awareness sets in, and don't scroll, listen to this, because you are no longer available for empty cycles, and your heart needs this right now because the universe respects boundaries you enforce internally, and listen closely, because this is why you are not being asked to reach out, explain, or clarify anything, the energy is already speaking for you, and don't scroll, listen to this, because when energy speaks, words either follow honestly or disappear completely, and your heart needs this right now because either outcome brings clarity, and listen carefully, because clarity is the goal, not reunion at any cost, and don't scroll, listen to this, because cost-free love does not exist, but aligned love does not cost your peace. And your heart needs this right now because peace is the signal you're listening to now more than emotion, and listen closely. Because peace does not rush, it waits, it watches, it trusts timing, and don't scroll, listen to this, because timing is not about delay, it's about readiness, and your heart needs this right now because readiness cannot be forced, only allowed, and listen carefully, because if your soulmate reaches out now, it will be different in tone, intention, and depth, not vague, not nostalgic, but honest, present, and accountable, and don't scroll, listen to this, because that difference is what tells you whether growth happened, and your heart needs this right now because growth is the only thing that makes reconnection sustainable, and listen closely, because if they don't reach out, the universe will still respond, by bringing closure that feels clean, not painful. And don't scroll, listen to this, because closure does not always come with conversation, sometimes it comes with understanding. And your heart needs this right now because understanding quiets the nervous system. And listen carefully, because you may already feel that quiet beginning, even as anticipation remains. And don't scroll, listen to this, because anticipation without anxiety is a sign of alignment, and your heart needs this right now because alignment is what guides what comes next. And listen closely, because what comes next will not confuse you, it will clarify. And don't scroll, listen to this, because confusion belongs to the past version of you, not the present one, and your heart needs this right now because you have grown into someone who can hold truth without collapsing. And listen carefully, because that strength is what this moment required all along. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the cliffhanger here is not suspense, it's trust. Trust that whatever unfolds next will honor your growth, not test it. And your heart needs this right now because the universe does not awaken you just to abandon you. It awakens you to meet what is aligned without fear. And listen closely, because whether contact comes today, tomorrow, or not at all, you will recognize the outcome by how it feels in your body, calm, clear, and steady. And don't scroll, listen to this, because that feeling is truth, and your heart needs this right now because truth is what sets you free, not answers, not promises, not waiting. And when freedom arrives fully, you'll realize this moment was never about whether he gives up, it was about whether you finally trusted yourself enough to let the universe handle the rest. Don't scroll, listen to this message is for you, and your heart needs this right now because this is the moment where the universe asks you to stay grounded while the truth finishes forming. And listen closely because what's happening now is quieter than anticipation but heavier than waiting. And don't scroll, listen to this, because silence at this stage is not emptiness, it's meaning. And your heart needs this right now because meaning is settling in whether you consciously invite it or not. And listen carefully, because your soulmate is still circling the truth, not because they don't feel it, but because they finally understand the weight of what reaching out would require. And don't scroll, listen to this, because reaching out now would mean showing up differently than before, without excuses, without vagueness, without hiding behind timing or confusion. And your heart needs this right now because this connection cannot survive another half step. And listen closely, because you may be feeling a subtle emotional shift lately, not longing exactly, not closure exactly, but a deep awareness that you are okay either way. And don't scroll, listen to this, because that awareness is power, and your heart needs this right now because power rooted in calm changes outcomes without effort. And listen carefully, because the universe has been preparing you for this moment by slowing you down internally, quieting emotional reactions, and strengthening your sense of self. And don't scroll, listen to this, because when the universe prepares you quietly, it's because something significant is approaching that requires steadiness, not urgency. And your heart needs this right now because steadiness is what keeps you from slipping back into old patterns if contact happens. And listen closely, because if your soulmate reaches out now, the old dynamic cannot return, not because you won't allow it, but because you've outgrown it. And don't scroll, listen to this, because outgrowing a dynamic doesn't erase feelings, it reframes them. And your heart needs this right now because reframing allows you to respond instead of react. And listen carefully, because this is where many people get impatient and break alignment by acting from anxiety. And don't scroll, listen to this, because anxiety belongs to the version of you who needed answers to feel safe. And your heart needs this right now because safety now comes from self-trust, not reassurance, and listen closely. Because you may notice that even when thoughts of them arise, your body doesn't spiral the way it used to, and don't scroll, listen to this, because that's regulation, not detachment, and your heart needs this right now because regulated energy invites honesty, not games, and listen carefully, because the universe does not force soulmates together, it gives them windows where both can choose truth at the same time, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because windows close gently, not dramatically, when one soul chooses fear over courage, and your heart needs this right now because fear is loud but temporary, while truth is quiet and persistent, and listen closely, because your soulmate is feeling that persistence now, the quiet pull that won't leave them alone, the awareness that something important remains unresolved. And don't scroll, listen to this, because unresolved soul connections don't haunt, they invite. And your heart needs this right now because invitations require response, not pressure, and listen carefully, because you are not meant to convince anyone of your value at this stage, you are meant to observe who recognizes it on their own, and don't scroll, listen to this, because recognition feels different than pursuit, and your heart needs this right now because recognition feels calm, mutual, and grounded, not frantic or nostalgic, and listen closely, because if they reach out now, it will come from a place of clarity, not loneliness, and don't scroll, listen to this, because loneliness seeks comfort, clarity seeks truth, and your heart needs this right now because truth is what sustains connection long-term, and listen carefully, because if they don't reach out, it won't be because you weren't enough, it will be because fear won the internal battle, and don't scroll, listen to this, because someone else's fear is not a reflection of your worth, and your heart needs this right now because internalizing their hesitation would undo the growth you've earned. And listen closely, because growth is the reason this moment exists at all, and don't scroll, listen to this, because without your growth, this connection would have stayed stuck in confusion, and your heart needs this right now because growth forces decisions, and listen carefully, because the universe is not asking you to wait indefinitely, it's asking you to remain aligned while clarity completes itself, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because alignment does not mean passivity, it means awareness, and your heart needs this right now because awareness allows you to respond wisely when information arrives, and listen closely, because you may already feel a sense of emotional readiness building, like you could handle a conversation without losing yourself, and don't scroll, listen to this, because that readiness is new. And your heart needs this right now because it shows how far you've come, and listen carefully, because the version of you that once waited anxiously is gone, replaced by someone who knows that what's meant to meet them will not require chasing, and don't scroll, listen to this, because chasing would collapse the dynamic back into imbalance, and your heart needs this right now because balance is the foundation of anything that continues from here. And listen closely, because this is why the universe slowed everything down instead of speeding it up, and don't scroll, listen to this, because speed creates reactions, while slowness creates clarity, and your heart needs this right now because clarity protects both souls from repeating the same lesson, and listen carefully, because whatever happens next will feel clean, not chaotic, intentional, not confusing, and don't scroll, listen to this, because clean endings and clean beginnings feel similar. They both bring peace, and your heart needs this right now because peace is the signal you're meant to follow now more than emotion, and listen closely, because peace doesn't eliminate feeling, it organizes it, and don't scroll, listen to this, because organized emotion allows you to hear truth without distortion, and your heart needs this right now because distortion kept you guessing before, and listen carefully, because you are no longer meant to guess. And don't scroll, listen to this. Because guessing drains energy while knowing restores it, and your heart needs this right now because restoration is happening quietly inside you, and listen closely, because this is the moment before revelation, not necessarily dramatic, but decisive. And don't scroll, listen to this, because decisions don't always arrive as events, they arrive as inner certainty. And your heart needs this right now because certainty anchors you no matter what unfolds externally, and listen carefully, because whether contact comes or not, you will recognize the outcome by how it feels: calm, grounded, and complete. And don't scroll, listen to this, because that feeling is alignment, and your heart needs this right now because alignment is the universe's language of truth. And listen closely, because this part ends not with urgency, but with trust. Trust that what is meant to meet you will do so without you abandoning yourself, and trust that if this connection completes here, it will leave you stronger, clearer, and more open than before. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe never leads you into awareness without preparing something better aligned to follow, and your heart needs this right now because you are standing at the edge of clarity, not loss, and when the next step reveals itself, you will feel ready, steady, and unafraid, knowing that whatever happens next honors who you have become. Don't scroll, listen to this message is for you. And your heart needs this right now because this is the moment where the universe stops circling the question and starts preparing you for the answer. And listen closely because answers don't always arrive as messages or calls, sometimes they arrive as a deep internal shift where you suddenly realize you are no longer afraid of the outcome. And don't scroll, listen to this, because that shift means you are finally standing in your power. Not emotionally bracing, not hoping to be chosen, not rehearsing conversations in your head, but grounded in the quiet knowing that whatever happens next will not break you, and your heart needs this right now because that knowing is what changes everything. And listen carefully, because the universe does not reveal truth to test you, it reveals truth to free you. And don't scroll, listen to this. Because freedom feels unfamiliar when you've been emotionally attached to uncertainty for a long time, and your heart needs this right now because uncertainty once felt like connection, but now it feels like a weight you've finally set down. And listen closely, because you may notice that even when thoughts of your soulmate arise, they don't hijack your nervous system the way they used to. And don't scroll, listen to this, because that doesn't mean the bond wasn't real, it means you are no longer living inside it, you are observing it. And your heart needs this right now because observation brings clarity. And listen carefully, because clarity is what allows destiny to move without resistance. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe has been slowly preparing you to receive truth without collapse, whether that truth arrives as reconnection or release. And your heart needs this right now because collapse used to be your fear, and fear no longer runs the story. And listen closely, because this is the stage where many people mistake calm for loss of love. And don't scroll, listen to this, because calm is not loss, it is regulation. And your heart needs this right now because regulated love is the only kind that lasts. And listen carefully, because your soulmate is feeling this shift too, whether they understand it or not. The pull they feel now is different, heavier, more serious, because they can sense that the version of you who once waited anxiously is gone. And don't scroll, listen to this, because when someone feels that energetic change, it forces a decision, and your heart needs this right now because decisions bring clarity. And listen closely, because indecision can survive only when one person keeps the door emotionally propped open, and you are no longer doing that. And don't scroll, listen to this, because your boundaries are quiet but firm now, and your heart needs this right now because quiet boundaries are the strongest kind. They don't argue, they don't demand, they simply exist. And listen carefully, because the universe respects boundaries you enforce internally far more than the ones you announce out loud. And don't scroll, listen to this, because that's why things are shifting without you doing anything, and your heart needs this right now because ease is the signal you're aligned. And listen closely, because this is also the stage where nostalgia may try one last time to pull you backward, memories resurfacing not to tempt you, but to be integrated. And don't scroll, listen to this, because integration is different from longing, and your heart needs this right now because integration means you can remember without reopening wounds. And listen carefully, because remembering without pain is healing completing itself. And don't scroll, listen to this, because completion doesn't need a ceremony, it happens quietly, often before the mind realizes it. And your heart needs this right now because your body already knows you are safe. And listen closely, because safety is what you were missing before, not love. And don't scroll, listen to this, because love without safety keeps the nervous system in survival mode. And your heart needs this right now because survival is not how soulmates are meant to love. And listen carefully, because soulmates are meant to expand each other, not keep each other on edge. And don't scroll, listen to this, because expansion feels calm, not chaotic. And your heart needs this right now because calm is what you're learning to trust now. And listen closely, because if your soulmate reaches out at this stage, you will feel it immediately in your body, not as adrenaline, not as panic, but as grounded awareness. And don't scroll, listen to this, because that feeling is how you'll know whether growth has happened. And your heart needs this right now because growth is the only thing that makes reconnection sustainable. And listen carefully, because if the message comes, it will not be vague, nostalgic, or testing the waters. It will be clear, accountable, and present. And don't scroll, listen to this, because anything less will no longer resonate with you. And your heart needs this right now because you are no longer available for emotional breadcrumbs. And listen closely, because availability is what determines outcomes, not desire. And don't scroll, listen to this, because you may also be sensing that even if they don't reach out, you will be okay, not hardened, not closed, just complete. And your heart needs this right now because completeness is power. And listen carefully, because completeness means you are no longer waiting for permission to move forward. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe responds quickly to those who stop waiting and start trusting themselves. And your heart needs this right now because trust creates momentum. And listen closely, because momentum doesn't always look like movement. Sometimes it looks like stillness that suddenly breaks open at exactly the right moment. And don't scroll, listen to this, because timing aligns when resistance drops. And your heart needs this right now because resistance often hides in impatience. And listen carefully, because impatience says, I need this now to feel okay, while alignment says, I am okay regardless of when this arrives. And don't scroll, listen to this, because alignment always wins. And your heart needs this right now because winning doesn't mean getting what you want. It means getting what fits. And listen closely, because fit feels natural, not forced. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe is not trying to tease you, it is trying to position you. And your heart needs this right now because position matters more than prediction. And listen carefully, because you are being positioned to receive truth cleanly, without self-abandonment, without fear, without shrinking, and don't scroll. Listen to this. Because shrinking would undo everything you've learned, and your heart needs this. Right now, because you are no longer meant to disappear inside love, you are meant to stand fully inside yourself while loving, and listen closely, because this is what makes soulmate connection sacred, not intensity, not longing, but mutual presence. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because mutual presence cannot exist if one soul is hiding, and your heart needs this right now because hiding is what ended the old dynamic. And listen carefully, because the universe is giving one final opportunity for truth to meet readiness. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because readiness is what you have now, and your heart needs this right now because readiness does not chase, it receives. And listen closely, because whatever happens next will not confuse you, it will clarify. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because confusion is no longer part of your path, and your heart needs this right now because clarity is peace, and peace is how you will recognize that the universe guided this perfectly. And listen carefully, because this chapter is not ending in loss, it is ending in strength, and strength changes what comes next. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because what comes next will not feel like a question mark, it will feel like an answer you've already prepared for, calm, steady, and undeniable. And your heart needs this right now because you are ready, and the universe knows it. Don't scroll. Listen to this. This message is for you, and your heart needs this right now because this is the moment where everything finally settles, not into silence, but into truth that no longer needs chasing, explaining, or waiting. And listen closely, because what's happening now is not about whether your soulmate reaches out or not, it's about who you have become while standing in this space of uncertainty. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because the universe measures readiness by steadiness, not by longing, and your heart needs this right now because steadiness is what you've earned, even if you don't fully recognize it yet. And listen carefully, because the version of you that once waited anxiously, checked constantly, replayed every interaction, and needed reassurance to feel okay has softened into something stronger, calmer, and more self-trusting. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because that shift is not small. It's the completion of a cycle, and your heart needs this right now because completion doesn't always come with fireworks, it often arrives as peace that doesn't need permission. And listen closely, because you may have noticed that the idea of them giving up doesn't terrify you the way it once did, not because you don't care, but because you finally understand that what's meant to meet you cannot miss you. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because understanding that truth rewires how love shows up in your life, and your heart needs this right now because rewiring takes place quietly, in moments like this where you choose to stay grounded instead of panicked. And listen carefully, because the universe is watching how you hold this moment, not what you do, but how you are. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because being grounded sends a clear signal. I am open, but I am not desperate. And your heart needs this right now because openness without desperation is magnetic. And listen closely, because magnetism doesn't shout, it draws. And right now, if your soulmate is meant to act, they will feel that draw not as pressure, but as clarity. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because clarity is what replaces fear when growth has happened. And your heart needs this right now because fear thrives on confusion, and confusion no longer has a home in you. And listen carefully, because you may notice that even your questions have changed. You're no longer asking, will they choose me, but, does this align with who I am now? And don't scroll. Listen to this, because that question alone tells the universe you are ready for a different outcome than before. And your heart needs this right now because different questions create different futures. and listen closely, because this is where many people try to regain control by forcing closure, sending messages, reopening conversations, or demanding answers. And don't scroll, listen to this. Because forcing closure interrupts the natural unfolding that alignment allows. And your heart needs this right now because alignment doesn't need force, it needs trust. And listen carefully, because trust is not passive, it's active presence, it's choosing not to abandon yourself in moments of uncertainty. And don't scroll, listen to this, because self-abandonment is what once kept you stuck, and your heart needs this right now because you are no longer doing that. And listen closely, because the universe has been gently showing you that what is meant to stay will meet you halfway without you collapsing inward. And don't scroll, listen to this, because halfway effort feels different in the body, it feels safe, not suspenseful. And your heart needs this right now because safety is the new standard you're learning to honor. And listen carefully, because if your soulmate reaches out now, you will notice something immediately. You won't feel adrenaline, panic, or urgency, you'll feel calm curiosity and grounded awareness. And don't scroll, listen to this, because that feeling means you are no longer handing your power over to the outcome. And your heart needs this right now because power rooted in calm leads to honest conversations, not emotional spirals. And listen closely, because you will also notice that you are no longer willing to accept vague intentions, half-truths, or emotional confusion. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because unwillingness is not bitterness, it's clarity. And your heart needs this right now because clarity protects your future. And listen carefully, because if contact doesn't happen, the peace you feel will not collapse, it will expand. And don't scroll, listen to this, because expansion is what follows acceptance. And your heart needs this right now because acceptance is not resignation, it's alignment with reality. And listen closely, because aligned reality does not punish you for loving deeply, it honors you by leading you toward what can love you back fully. And don't scroll, listen to this, because loving deeply was never your flaw, it was your strength waiting for the right mirror. And your heart needs this right now because mirrors matter. And listen carefully, because not every soul you connect with is meant to reflect you at the same depth forever. And don't scroll, listen to this, because some reflect lessons, not lifetimes. And your heart needs this right now because lessons end when awareness stabilizes, not when someone changes. And listen closely, because you've reached that stabilization point. And don't scroll, listen to this, because stabilization feels like emotional neutrality mixed with openness, not detachment, not avoidance, but balance. And your heart needs this right now because balance is the foundation of healthy love. And listen carefully, because healthy love does not threaten to give up, it shows up. And don't scroll. Listen to this, because show-up energy is unmistakable. And your heart needs this right now because you will no longer mistake intensity for effort, or longing for commitment. And listen closely, because the universe has been preparing you to recognize the difference. And don't scroll, listen to this, because recognition is what prevents repeating cycles. And your heart needs this right now because cycles only repeat when awareness is ignored. And listen carefully, because you are not ignoring anything now, you are present, aware, and grounded. And don't scroll, listen to this, because presence is what allows the right outcome to find you without resistance. And your heart needs this right now because resistance often hides in impatience. And listen closely, because impatience says, I need this to happen so I can relax, while alignment says, I am relaxed, so what happens next will be right. And don't scroll, listen to this, because alignment always leads to outcomes that feel clean, not chaotic. and your heart needs this right now because clean outcomes don't leave lingering questions, they leave understanding, and listen carefully, because you may already feel that understanding settling in, even without external confirmation, and don't scroll, listen to this, because internal confirmation is stronger than any message you could receive. And your heart needs this right now because internal confirmation anchors you no matter what arrives, and listen closely, because the universe is not asking you to brace for loss or hope for reunion, it's asking you to stay true, and don't scroll, listen to this, because staying true is what ensures that whatever comes next honors who you are now, not who you were when you were still learning. And your heart needs this right now because you have learned, deeply, honestly, and with courage, and listen carefully. Because courage is what allowed you to sit in uncertainty without self-destructing, and don't scroll, listen to this, because that courage is rare, and your heart needs this right now because rare energy attracts rare outcomes, and listen closely. Because whether this chapter closes with contact or completes without it, you will not be left empty, you will be left clear, and don't scroll, listen to this, because clarity is the greatest gift a soulmate connection can give. And your heart needs this right now because clarity leads you forward without dragging the past behind you, and listen carefully. Because the final truth is this. If your soulmate is meant to contact you, it will happen in a way that feels aligned, grounded, and honest, and if not, the peace you feel will confirm that you are already standing in the right place, and don't scroll, listen to this, because either outcome is not loss, it is completion, and your heart needs this right now because completion means you are free to love without fear, to choose without doubt, and to move forward without carrying unfinished energy, and listen closely, because that freedom is not coming someday, it's here now, and when you realize that fully, you'll understand this moment was never about opening something before someone gives up, it was about opening yourself to the truth that you are already enough, already aligned, and already ready for what comes next, calm, steady, and unmistakably real.